Welcome into Texans Today. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, here on a sad Sunday here on Texans Today. Obviously, vibes are a little low after the loss to the Baltimore Ravens in the divisional round, but hey, who thought we'd even get this far? I'm still proud of this Texans team and so excited for the future. So if you're with me, if you're still proud of this Texans team and what they've accomplished this year, rookie quarterback, rookie head coach, a lot of new faces here in the organization, go down and hit that thumbs up icon. I know a couple Texans players watch our videos here, so maybe show your support. Show them that you still care about this team and you're pumped for this next season. Go down and hit that thumbs up icon right now. And coming up on today's show, I have 5 burning questions. The first of which, will this Texans coaching staff stay throughout the offseason intact? We already know the rumors are flying around Bobby Slowik. Will he stay or will he go? He has a lot of interest from a lot of different teams, as we have a lot of NFL head coaching vacancies throughout the NFL. Carolina Panthers, Tennessee Titans, Seattle Seahawks, Washington Commanders, Atlanta Falcons, all scheduled to interview Slowik this week, if not already interviewed. I know he already talked with the Titans and the Panthers, but he's not the only Texans coach that's garnering some interest around the NFL. Quarterbacks coach Jerrod Johnson had an interview with the Saints and also with the Browns now. Both teams requesting to interview the quarterback coach. So it's likely that either Slowik or Jerrod Johnson head out of town. And I do think if Slowik does end up getting a head coaching job, the Texans will try to promote Jerrod Johnson within the organization and just move him to OC. Those are my thoughts of what's going to happen, but you never know. I want to ask you this, though, at home. Who do you think is more likely to leave between Bobby Slowik or Jerrod Johnson? This is going to be the pinned comment on today's video, so go down and let me know. Who do you think is more likely to leave the Texans this offseason? My next burning questions for you folks at home. Do the Texans sign or draft a running back this offseason? Now, I still think the Texans are going to make a move regardless which one they do to get another running back in this room. I mean, Devin Singletary played well throughout the year, and this is just a quick reminder, throughout the rest of the video as well, as we'll be talking about free agency. Texans have $74 million in cap space, according to Spotrac, which is second most in the entire NFL. So they could very well go out and get one of these top running backs in free agency, to which there are a ton. And notably also, Devin Singletary, who I just mentioned, is a free agent going into this offseason, along with superstar names like Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, Saquon Barkley, Austin Eckler, DeAndre Swift, Gus Edwards, A.J. Dillon, and Zeke. I mean, all could still be on the table for the Houston Texans, and I wouldn't mind the Texans maybe trying to go out and get a big name like steal a Derrick Henry or a Josh Jacobs, or maybe even a Saquon Barkley. But hey, you don't want to do that route. There are still some good running backs in the draft this year, even though I don't think we see a running back in the first round, which means really good value for you if you want to get like a Trey Benson, a Blake Corum. I like Bucky Irving out of Oregon, a speedster. I really like the depth of this class, even though there's no kind of like Bijan or Jahmyr Gibbs like we had last year. And honestly, I wouldn't mind if the Texans kind of, even though it's a faux pas, if they did a little double dip, if they did free agency and the draft. I wouldn't mind if the Texans added a couple more names in this running back room, because even though Dameon Pierce is still on contract, I want to add some more guys to this running back room and give some more competition, because this year he was just not able to find the open holes, wasn't reading the defense well behind the line of scrimmage. I want the Texans to improve this running game for C.J. Stroud going into next season. And coming up, I have 3 more burning questions surrounding the Texans after their loss to the Baltimore Ravens. But first, got to show some love to our sponsor of today's show, and that is Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy sports made easy, folks. All you got to do, choose 2 or more players from any sport. You can do NBA, hockey, baseball when it's around. I like, if you watched last night, Strickland lost in the UFC. They have also those stat projections for you as well. Like I said, choose 2 or more players from any sport, and you can even mismatch. You can do a couple NBA picks and a couple NFL picks if you like. You choose more or less on their projected stat types, and then place your entry. It's as easy as that, folks. And whenever you use our link, prizepicks.com/CLNS, or if you're on a mobile device, if you use the code CLNS, they're going to give you a $100 deposit match starting right now. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS and get started today. PrizePicks is daily fantasy sports made easy, folks. Go get started with PrizePicks today. Now, my next burning question as we enter the Texans off-season stages: will the Texans add another receiver this offseason? Hey, the emergence of Nico Collins, he is a legit wide receiver one. But if I've learned anything about the NFL, it is a wide receiver league, and you need 2 wide receiver ones in this league. So you have Nico Collins, you have Tank Dell, but wouldn't it be nice to add one of these guys? Maybe a Mike Evans, T. Higgins, Gabe Davis, Tyler Boyd, one of these, star wide receivers. And I know a couple of the names on the right, they might be able to hit them with the franchise tag or get a deal done with the younger guys like Michael Pittman, maybe Hollywood Brown. But I really think the Texans could look to add another star wide receiver in either free agency, which there are plenty of. And like I said, you'll be able to spend money. You have the second most cap space in the entire NFL. And if the Texans want to add a top receiver early in the draft, here are my guys that I really think the Texans could target. I didn't add like a Malik Neighbors. I didn't add a Marvin Harrison because I don't think the Texans, barring a crazy trade-up again this year, are going to be able to get either of those guys. Maybe this was my trade-up option in the first round. If he slides into the teens, I could see the Texans moving up to get Rome Odunze from Washington. Keon Coleman out of Florida State. Watch out for him. He is a freak, 6'7", an absolute monster. Think of like Calvin Johnson. I'm not saying he's as good as Calvin Johnson, but the build is there. Adonai Mitchell from University of Texas and Xavier Leggett from South Carolina. All these guys, good options for the Texans. If they want to draft a wide receiver, the wide receiver room in this draft is incredibly deep as well. So if you want to get maybe a guy in the second, a guy in the third, that could be an option as well. I just wanted to kind of show you the top guys if the Texans really want to go out there and add a top receiver this offseason. Now, I want to hear from you folks at home, either in free agency or the draft. Give me one wide receiver that you would want to add. I think I know who most Texans fans really want to see added to this team, but let me know down in the comment section what you have to say. It can be more than one name too. If you want to add a couple free agency and a draft, maybe you want to double dip. Go down there and let me know what you're thinking about in this question. Next burning question I have for you: do the Texans beef up this offseason on the offensive line and the defensive line? We saw the struggles on the interior on both sides of the ball against the Baltimore Ravens. The Texans were not able to stop the run, and the Texans were not able to run the ball. Both sides of the football, the Ravens, and that's really why I think they ended up winning this game. They were able to control the line of scrimmage. Former Texans first overall pick, Jadeveon Clowney, came back to bite them in the you-know-what as he's playing incredibly well for the Baltimore Ravens this whole season. And if the Texans want to add somebody, I really think it's interior because you still have Titus Howard, who's going to be coming back at right tackle. You have Laramie Tunsil at left tackle. I could see them adding one of these guys on the interior, maybe a Mike Nwenu, Connor Williams, Damian Lewis, Andre James, or Graham Glasnow. Maybe they don't start all these guys. Maybe if you get a Graham, I think Graham would start. Maybe if you get like a Damian Lewis, an Andre James, maybe they don't start because I really like what you have in Jarrett Patterson. But if we know anything from this Texans team this year, you need depth at the offensive line spot because it seemed like every single lineman for the Texans, besides Shaq Mason, got hurt this season. Also in the draft, here are just some names to keep an eye out on. Not a really top-heavy draft either for interior line prospects, but here are the top guys that I kind of sorted through: Cooper Beebe, Zach Frazier, Zach Zinter, and Troy Fatanu, all guys that the Texans could look to add in the maybe late first. They could be there. I think they'll be there in the late first or their second round pick as well. And on the defensive side, this is where the Texans' money is going to come in handy. I really would wish they add one of these top guys here as well. You have Grover Stewart, Sheldon Rankins, one of your own guys is going to be a free agent as well. DJ Reader. Could you bring him back to Houston? Houston, the team that drafted him, stupidly let him walk and has played amazingly for the Bengals these past couple seasons. Justin Matabuke or Christian Wilkins, all great options if you're trying to spend some money this offseason and really improve this team, make them a title contender. Also, for the draft, here are the top guys. In my opinion, that the Texans could get probably in the first round, Jerzon Newton or Leonard Taylor. I really like those two options if the Texans are going to draft somebody in the first round. Michael Hall, Mason Smith, Tyler Davis, as well as two Longhorns that didn't make my list right here, but second, third round, I could really see them getting Murphy or Sweat. Both those guys, very good interior defensive linemen, which the Texans desperately need. And I want to ask you folks at home, because like I said, the Texans kind of got whooped on both sides of the ball in the trenches, on the interior. Which side are you more worried about? Are you more worried about the offensive line or the defensive line? Let me know down in the comments section. I'm kind of tossed up right here. I think I'm more worried about the defensive line because you at least have Laramie Tunsil and some really good pieces on the O-line. The D-line, though, I just think you need a lot more depth, especially with Jonathan Grenard as a free agent as well. You need a couple defensive tackles. I'm a little bit more worried about the defensive line. And lastly, do the Texans need to add to the secondary this offseason? Jalen Petrie, I was a little off, I'll admit it. I thought he was going to be a top 5 safety in the league this year, to which he was not. You had a really good year out of Stingley. Steven Nelson is going to be a free agent this offseason on the other side, so you'll need some corner help. You'll need some safety help. Here are the top guys in the secondary if you're trying to spend some money, and this is another place where I could see the Texans back up the brinks a little bit and try to pay one of these guys. Jalen Johnson, L'Jarius Sneed, those guys might get the franchise tag, to be honest. But you also have Steven Nelson, Chidobe Awuzie, Kenny Moore in free agency. And if you want more of like a safety type player, Geno Stone, Jordan Whitehead, Julian Blackman. I really like Antoine Winfield Jr. If the Texans are able to steal him from Tampa Bay, he is a hard-hitting safety. I really like him, same as Kyle Duggar. And in the secondary, Cooper DeJean, like the mustard, right? Cooper DeJean out of Iowa. Tyler Nubin. I really like Cameron Kitchens out of Miami. I could see him as a sneaky late first-round pick. Kool-Aid McKinstry, if you don't draft him for the name alone, I mean, come on. And the kid balls out. Nate Wiggins and Denzel Burke. I could see the Texans spending some money and some draft capital in the secondary as well this offseason. Now, this was just kind of like a teaser, a little antipasta, a little, appetizer for you for all the coverage we're going to have this offseason. So follow me on Twitter at Jeremy Chuggs and make sure to subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/TexansTV. For more news and rumors, updates throughout the entire offseason. I'll be here for free agency. I'll be here for the draft, the dog days of summer. I'll be making videos for you here on the channel. So go down and hit that sub button.